Welcoming all our viewers to International Affairs, which is broadcasting live from the Dhaka's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Pantho and I bring you today's International Affairs. Before we begin our discussions, let me introduce my panelists here in the studio. We have Associate Professor Rashid Alam coming from Dhaka University, appearing on the program today. Welcome back to the program, sir. It's very good to see you after such a long time. And of course, we have our geopolitical correspondent from District of Columbia, Washington, Norman Floyd Barnes. Very good morning to Norman. I believe it's very early in the morning in Washington, D.C.
Yes,
So today's discussion has a lot of topics. I want to give our viewers a brief summary of whatever that has happened today, which includes the latest Iran-US nuclear negotiations, the third round of trilateral peace talks between Ukraine, Russia and the US continuing in Geneva. And of course, in Bangladesh, we have the BNP leader, Mr. Tariq Rahman, taking oath as the 11th Prime Minister, and the UN agency saying Gaza rubble removal could take more or less than 7 years. I want to begin in the studio with Professor Rashid Alam. We know that Iran and the United States has had a very shaky relationship as for the last 47 days. We know 47 days ago how the US had gone into Venezuela, how it opened up its rhetoric and narratives regarding Nicolas Maduro. Right. And then immediately afterwards, we've seen how the United States administration and, of course, Donald J. Trump had comments regarding Iran. And, of course, son-in-law Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff were a part of this Geneva meeting between the two sides. Of course, it is heightened tensions as one nation does not see whether or not the other nation should have such a capacity to operate nuclear weapons. How do you think about this issue?
Thank you so much for bringing the issues. Like, we have a couple of rounds of negotiation currently we have, particularly US and Iran's. I think that there are some issues which actually creating this peace negotiation. There are some blocks. I think there are some difficulties in terms of reaching an agreement. Particularly, US is asking for Iranian nuclear enrichment program, which needs to be shut down, and also Iranian missile capacity, which is, something which are actually inviolable, non-negotiable issues. When you put that into the table, then the discussion and then the agreement become very difficult. So on the other hand, it has been suspected that it is because of the Israel, they are actually bringing this missile range issue, missile capacity development issue. Those are into the peace talk, which has been actually, for Iran, it is their existential threat. Iran also put an argument, if you want to restrict us on this issue, then it has to be similar kind of restriction has to be imposed on Israel as well. So which is very much logical. I think when you have one party, you have to disarmament one party, then his opponent, if you empower him, then it's not a negotiable, and it is not a balance of power. So that's I think the major blocks in terms of negotiation, in terms of peace deal. Although Iran is agreed to talk and being a settlement in terms of the de-escalation in the Persian Gulf region, but unfortunately the issues being into the discussion, this issue coming to the discussion is very non-negotiable and inviolable, which actually creating some difficulties in reaching an agreement, I think. Yeah.
Of course, very important updates coming from Rashid Alam, and I mentioned two very specific people who are seen to be the deal makers for Donald Trump's administration. I mentioned Jared Kushner as well as Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. I want to focus with Norman Floyd Barnes in Washington, D.C. I know that these two people that I continuously mention are now running as a sideline to understand whether or not these deals could be met. Of course, it has global implications as their biggest win so far would be the ceasefire in Gaza. Very fragile as far as I know, and I've been commenting about this for several months now, as well as the Ukraine war. So not only so, we have the Board of Peace. These two characters are definitely involved in all of these hotspots. I want to understand from Norman Floyd Barnes, what are the issues that you see from these deal makers, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, as well as Jared Kushner. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Greetings. Good morning is ironic you mentioned that these two gentlemen as characters. Yes, indeed, they are characters. They are deal makers, specially picked out by the president, and they are basically business people preparing for the next chapter. So they have been tasked with creating deals that will benefit the American interests. Uh, what you're seeing is basically they're dealing with Iran. They're dealing with the issue going on with the West Bank, and the issue dealing with Iran. Their function is basically to negotiate terms where they can ensure that the United States will have supremacy over the region, over the development, over the trade, over the commerce, over the overall functionality of the country. This is not being viewed as, well, actually, this is being viewed as some people say, a conflict of interest. But because they are not sitting members of Congress, they are not sitting members of the government of the United States, they have leeway to do things that we call backdoor conversations and things that lead to business prosperity. So basically, they're there really to make a deal, a business deal, with these areas. The situation with Iran, we're going into the next stages of conversation. The issue has now come to a point where now they have come to terms, understanding that yes, we understand the issue, we understand that we need to do something, but how it's done is the issue. The United States has a plan basically to saying no missiles, no nuclear missiles, basically, and Iran is okay with that. However, because of Israel involvement, Israel wants to up the scale, wants to ensure that there's zero enrichment ability in Iran and there's zero missiles from Iran. Iran will not do this. They will not concede to this and they will cause problems in the region. We have a second nuclear carrier heading towards the region, which means they're staging for some type of military action. The issue is that the United States has the ability to have a powerful strike, an effective strike. However, the repercussions of that is unknown. Iran is talking now, and they have ability to sink a major aircraft carrier. They have the missile ability. They have all ability to cause pain and suffering to the entire region. This is something that the region do not want to have. And of course, the United States is dealing with a great unknown. The unknown is what type of impact, what type of response Iran will have. And our intelligence, our services, and everything right now do not know that, which is a real problem that we do not have the military intelligence to figure out exactly what's going on with Iran, which means there's a deeper problem. So right now, the negotiation is right now on how we can come to terms so we can exist, because right now we can attack. The United States can form a very large attack, a very impactful attack, but they don't know what's going to response going to be, what type of response the Iranian government will impel on the United States and its partners. So that's the reason why they haven't have a military response yet, because the great unknown, the questions, the intelligence is lacking.
Of course, important updates coming from Norman Floyd Burns. The uncertainty regarding Iran's capability in warfare is what the U.S. forces, the U.S. administration is trying to find out. You know, earlier on last year, last summer, we've seen some videos of their missile silos, which was deep under the mountains, being bombed by massive ordnance bombing by courtesy of the United States of America. And what Norman was saying, that there is a character in the Middle East, Israel, which does not want any kind of enrichment of uranium happening in Iran. That is one issue, as well as they also don't want their missile program to take into a larger effect, or for it to be innovated and developed for mass ordnance. So, of course, Israel does not want that to happen. I want to understand from you, we've seen a 12-day war between these two sides. We've seen the B-2 bombing going down in Iran's nuclear facilities. Even so, in the modern time, we have not seen any nation being able to target Tel Aviv, the heart of Israel. And the only person that has done, or the only nation that has done, is Iran, led by the Islamic Revolutionary Government. So do you think there shall be a reigniting of these issues, especially when the negotiations fail?
Yeah, I mean, particularly US have to understand that this is a serious concern. This would be a serious concern if they continuously doing this pressurizing and maximizing the pressure. They try to broker the deal, but you have to be realistic in terms of how long a nation can sacrifice, how long a nation can, agreed upon on an issue, like particularly when it is their sovereignty issue. You know, it is Israel on their right onto their neck for Iran. They know well, if they reduce their enrichment, or if they shut down their missile program, immediately after that Israel will attack Iran. Because, you know, in the last time when the negotiation was taking place, when the talking was taking place, out of nowhere, Israel attacked Iran and killed his top military officials within a few hours. And then Iran has to retaliate. Iran has to give an answer, and they give a proper maximum answer. Although there are some issues of their, there's Iron Domes. There was a myth that Iron Dome will save Israel, as you rightly said, but Iranian missile has that capacity to penetrate Israel's Iron Dome capacity. So Iran is a bravest nation. They know what they're doing, because they will not compromise on their revolutionary standard. The revolutionary government they're willing to sacrifice their life. They're willing to be martyred on the cause of their nationhood, on the caution of their sovereignty. And whatever Israel is trying to doing, whatever US is trying to doing, Iranian supreme leader Imam Khomeini, yesterday they also talked about that, okay, we'll not abandon the course of actions. If US try to maximize, if US try to attack us, we'll give the maximum answer to them. That is the reality at the moment. So US have to understand, Iran is not like Venezuela, Iran is not like Iraq, Iran is not like Syria. It's a different nation, and they never bow down their head. So it is a different case. I think US, if continuously doing that, maximizing pressure, I don't know what's gonna happen, but they have to reach an agreement. If you give a green signal to maximum support to Israel, you have to also accept that Iran has to have their sovereignty. Iran has to have their capacity to maintain their sovereignty. That's why these are the deal which is, I think, non-negotiable.
Of course, very important coming from Professor Rashid Alam. I know that the US President has touted the term regime change inside a nation like Iran, and we still are yet to know what kind of war cabinet they have in Iran that will target if any kind of retaliation takes place. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short break. We have more on international affairs. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this, because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With presidency of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on International Affairs. I am your host, Shamsul Alam Panto. Alongside, we have Professor Rashid Alam in the studio and Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. I want to have a special remembrance for the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson, the towering civil rights leader whose moral vision and fiery oratory reshaped the Democratic Party in America. He has died as of yesterday, and he was 84. He's, of course, seen as the protege of Martin Luther King Jr., and he had been hospitalized in various recent months. He died last morning, surrounded by his family, according to a statement from his non-profit social justice organization, the Rainbow Push Coalition. Of course, he has very important role in the history of American politics. He rose to national prominence in the 1960s as a close aide to Dr. King. After his assassination, of course, Jackson became one of the most transformative civil rights leaders in America. So I want to ask a question regarding Norman Floyd Barnes. I'm sure you've heard of this brilliant person. How are you seeing this as when the first president of color, Barack Obama, was sworn in as the presidency? Jackson was in the crowd, and we could see that he was in the crowd with tears in his eyes. I want to understand his loss and what is the future for coming up in the United States from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, thank you. Reverend Jackson was a prominent figure in the civil rights movement of the United States. I actually provided close protection for him when he was running for president in 1984 and 88. So I had a chance to know this guy, a person up close. He was a very vibrant, energetic person. He was very passionate about justice and dealing with issues with the people. So he was a type of guy who was out there engaging in the public with the people, and his spirit will be missed.
Of course, we all understand that his loss would be a great loss for the American society. As I was talking with Professor Rashid Alam during the break, this very person also campaigned actively courting Arab Americans and amplified calls for Palestinian self-determination in an era where unquestioning support for Israel was the default position in U.S. politics. It still is today, as we have seen this leader taking his demise. He's taken off outside of this world. He has lost his life, and he had always fought for the civil rights movement. He was always fighting against racism, marginalization.
Right, and
all of these issues.
He also played an incredible role, particularly in, influencing American to register for vote. I know in the Western world, lots of people doesn't want to vote. They just want to be, remain alienable to the politics, or doesn't interested to be in political process. So he had made an incredible role in terms of encouraging people to vote, because it's their civil and political rights. In democratic process, particularly in the electoral democracy, you need this voting. You need a good number of people turn out in the voting pattern. Otherwise, it's raise a question about the democratic credibility. And I think his legacy would be like, America is a nation of all color, all races, apart from, and all corners of the world. I think that momentum, that spirit, and that will continue to run. Continue to. It would be the guiding principles of U.S. politics in the next couple of years, I believe, and next decade as well. I think that would be a legacy. I think his role particularly, and Barack Obama also said like his campaigning for the election actually became a founding stone for Barack Obama's presidency. Particularly, he inspired Barack Obama a lot. Particularly as Barack Obama also praised his contribution, immensely. I think, yeah.
Very important how we see a community coming out in support of the cause, in support of the United Fronts. However, we see that for United States of America, it is very sad to say that we don't see the same when it comes to Israel and Palestine, people of Gaza, and the common Gazans being killed on a daily basis. I want to change the segment of the program with respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. This time around, I had mentioned earlier on this program that the UN agency is saying that it could take 7 years, as 90% of the people live in dangerous conditions. The UN Developmental Program, or UNDP, yesterday stated that clearing Gaza's rubble at the current pace would take several years or 7 years, as most residents continue to live in extremely hazardous conditions, some of which we've seen because of rain. There was floods because of the winter season. There was deaths due to excessive cold, which is another description of the dangerous conditions people are made to live with. I want to ask this question to Norman Floyd Barnes. A ceasefire has taken place. Almost over 500 deaths have consumed even after a ceasefire. A board of peace has been declared with multiple actors from around the globe, from UK, from the US, from some even from Africa as well, who is taking part in this board of peace. But all of which it really ignores the fact of the likelihoods and the benefits and the conditions of life for the common Palestinians. I want to understand what is the future plan, such as the UNDP is now saying it would take 7 years to clear all the rubble. Where is the international effort? And the UN, they really do not have enough funding to provide the support that it is really required. I see a supply and demand shortage coming out. I want to understand how you feel about the righthood or the statehood for the Palestinians, from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, as I stated yesterday, the issue with the West Bank is very appalling. The point of the Gaza has been decimated. The total infrastructure has been destroyed, and they will have to rebuild. Say 7 years, I'll say between 7 and 10 years. So in the meantime, Palestine has no rights. They can't go back to the land. So where did we put these people? How did we deal with the situation? And when you rebuild, you haven't included anything involvement from the Palestinians on this. So you are building from the outside in, and with your outside construction and reconstruction and resilience, there's nothing inside of that that is inclusive for the Palestinian people. So basically, you building to bring new people in to occupy, to create a whole new scenario where at minimum the Palestinian people cannot afford to live in the area. They can only afford to come work there. So basically, you're looking at another colony being developed in Palestine, Gaza area, and a more of an annexation of Israel. So basically, what I'm saying is that we're looking at expansion of Israel. We're looking at building and development with high cost, high price of inhabitants coming in, and the people that will be priced out and they won't be able to come back to the land. So they're creating this situation for a new group of people to come in, and the existing people, there's no place for them. So that's why I see basically they'll be driven away, just like we did the American Indians here. They'll be moved from the land and they'll be occupied by someone else.
Of course, that has some kind of relevance towards what is coming up here and around the world. We are seeing the holy month of Ramadan is approaching us. However, I feel very emotional reading one of these news articles. Nowhere on this planet, even with me and around the globe, we have never seen a group of people performing their prayer at the edge of the gun or while someone was holding the gun to their faces. And let me read out the news. Thousands of Palestinians performed their first Taraweeh prayer in the Muslim holy month of Ramadan on Tuesday, which was yesterday evening, at the Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, as Israeli police maintained a visible presence across the site. That is most likely the only place in the planet where we will see Muslims are in prayer, and there are certain people who are holding up guns.
Holding the guns on their head, yeah.
It's a very huge implication. I want to understand the feelings from both my guests today. From Rashid Alam first, how do you see?
So I think, you know, the way you can explain this this event is not enough in terms of power to actually really address the situation they are facing currently. You know, we talked about justice action, civil and political rights. What rights Palestinians have in this 21st century world? What kind of civil rights? What kind of human security? What kind of well-being effort has been made for the Palestinian people? The world is watching that a genocide is taking place and world is doing nothing. Although the few nations in the last UN summit gave their support for the Palestinian independence, but that is a lip service they're given. Until then, they're doing nothing. And when this Board of Peace is taken place, Board of Peace, that the Donald Trump version of the peace negotiation or peace effort, actually doing nothing in terms of the existential threat Palestinian people. They do not have any food, they do not have any health support, they do not have any hospital, they do not have any shelter. As you said, the harsh winter they have been suffered of. They also heavily victimized by the rainfall in the monsoonal season. So I know, you know, the month of Ramadan is approaching. We know as a Muslim how hard it would be when you go for breaking our fast and our Palestinian brother will not have any food. So I think world has to understand, and I think many of us want to contribute, but there is no channel to pass our aid. There is no way you can send the aid to these Palestinian people because Israel is blocking everywhere. They're blocking the sea, they're blocking the naval route, they're blocking the land route. Everywhere they're creating obstruction. So I think this is the way they're actually silently killing the whole of Palestinian nation without starving them, without any health services, without any civil and political rights, without any shelter. So this is, I think, the world is silent, remains silent. World is doing nothing, and this is the defeat of our morality. And as a humankind, we cannot claim as a human being anymore.
Of course, I believe that while I was talking about this issue, Norman Floyd Barnes relates to me how emotional it is for people to pray while there are other people who are pointing guns, if not having retaliatory comments from the sidelines. How do you see this? Because this is not the first time such a situation has occurred. Every time during the month of Ramadan, we see what happens at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. We've seen fights appearing in this very mosque. I want to understand what is the emotional aspect. I believe you were trying to say something while I was talking in the studio. Norman.
Yes, this is a very despicable, unacceptable form of genocide. In essence, excuse me, the Palestinians are prisoners of war. The Israeli is obviously want to break their mind, break their spirit, break their hearts. They do not want them to have any type of unification, any type of hope. They basically want to kill off the Palestinian. No food, no shelter, no health care, and now they can't pray without being handled like animals. So this is a very despicable thing. This is a continuation that's going on. The issue is The world knows this, and the world is tolerating this. So who is really the problem? Israel doing it, or the world tolerating it?
Very important nexus, whether or not the action is done by someone or whether the tolerance of the world and the silence of the leaders shall prevail. Very important comments from Norman Floyd Barnes. I must thank him for such commentary, and of course thank our professor here in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short break. After the break, there is more. Do stay tuned on International Affairs.
Action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last segment of International Affairs. Of course, we have been talking about issues of global importance from around the world, spanning, of course, Iran, US, as well as the Gaza issue. But I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes that there is a new Prime Minister of Bangladesh. He is known as the BNP's leader, Tariq Rahman, who took the oath of office as the 11th Prime Minister of the South Asian nation. And of course, today, or from yesterday till today, we will try to understand what is his position regarding the foreign policy of Bangladesh. We will understand how he wants to lead this nation coming forward. And it is the month of Ramadan, so it is a very timely election that we've had, a very timely result coming out, and of course, the oath-taking ceremony. I want to understand from Norman, how do you think that this popular party should proceed in the coming days, given that there is a lot of counter-narrative which may arise in the coming days? We've seen the farewell of the chief advisor, Muhammad Yunus, who is, of course, accepted worldwide. So will this new leader be able to fill the shadow of Muhammad Yunus? How do you think about it? And what is your closing statement regarding Bangladesh and its foreign policy?
First, I want to congratulate Bangladesh for having a successful election and electing the prime minister and a new parliament. Now the work is to basically do something, action. So the new prime minister has to put together his cabinet, and hopefully he have representatives from all facets of the country, particularly the Gen Zs and other parties that do not see eye and eye with his agenda. They must be included in this process. It must be shown that the government, the new government, is inclusive, not exclusive, in terms of dealing with the issues of dealing with the country and dealing with foreign aid and dealing with foreign relationships. So they have to have an open door situation, and they must have input from the people. That's critical, that the people must feel that their voices heard and their feelings are looked at, and the new prime minister understands what they are dealing with. So it's going to take some time, to do this, he has to put together his parliament, and he had to put together his policies and how he wants to address the world. So right now, praises are for the new government of Bangladesh. We wish you well, and we always here to help if there's need to do things to help you along the way. So, we have some over 15 million people living in other parts of the world. So hopefully they will start coming back home and start helping and providing support to this new government.
Right. We have Professor Rashad wanting to asking you a question. Sir, would you please ask Norman this question?
Thank you so much for the Norman from Dance. So I think what would be the U.S. position in terms of our new government, particularly the Bangladesh strategic location, and we also, in terms of the Bangladesh relation with India and China, and also what would be how USA want to see Bangladesh in the upcoming decades, and in terms of foreign policies, U.S. foreign policies towards Bangladesh, vis-a-vis with the China.
Of course, the United States would love to have the United States would love to have an embassy there. They would love to have trade and commerce and agreements there because of the location. You're located in South Asia. And South Asia is an area that we do not have a lot of influence and impact in. And of course, it's a countermeasure with China. So yes, the United States would love the entertain the idea to meet with the new government and forge a relationship.
Thank you. I must thank Norman Floyd Barnes for his openness for the relationships between the West and, of course, South Asia here in Bangladesh. And I want to come back into the studio with Rashad Alam. Very last few minutes we have left of the show. What is your expectations? A nation marred with so many problems, the nation getting a very energetic leader once again back into the Parliament, the very first Parliament hearing. It is very interesting to see how it's going to go, who shall be the Speaker, and how the two sides are going to contest inside the Parliament is a matter to be noticed. How do you see it?
First of all, I think it's a restart for our democratic transition once again. We had the democratic country, but unfortunately in the last 1.5 decades we are going towards an autocratic government or dictatorship. But now we have to restart our democratic exercise, and we good that we have a good opposition parties in the parliament. They have enough seats to contest in the make a lively debate in the parliamentary exercises. But my expectation would be we have huge challenges in terms of foreign interests, particularly Bangladesh having issues with the Myanmar. We have the border issues. Particularly the Rohingya repatriation issue is one of the biggest challenges for the nation in the upcoming days. Then we have facing a global tariff war that USA and China currently taking place. So we have to balance our relation, because USA is pointing out the trade deficit they have with the Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is exporting in the ready-made garment sector market in the USA. On the other hand, USA wanted to also selling lots of Boeing planes, and also selling wheats and foodstuffs in Bangladesh as to reduce their trade deficit. So Bangladesh has to be very careful when dealing with these matters. Particularly, we have issues with the visa embargoes in different countries. Puts lots of visa embargoes on Bangladeshi nationals, particularly the Bangladeshi passport, lose their honor. So new government has to boost up that Bangladeshi's international position and Bangladeshi's passport international credibility by good migration governance. Immigration governance has to be imposed so that people cannot cheat by documentation and other aspects. So that's how you have to boost up. You have to work towards those government to impose those visa restrictions that currently Bangladesh is having. We need to visa-free access in many other countries like enjoying that. So government has to work on that aspect, and also unemployment issues we have. So we have to find out new market for our the young, the educated people, so that they can go and work there, particularly that in India currently having lots of good deal with the European Union nations, where Indian nationals, the technical capacity in Indian nationals would gonna be work in those countries. So Bangladesh has to, the foreign, in terms of foreign policy, we have to have a good economic diplomacy so that we can create a scope for our people work overseas, and also increasing the presence of Bangladeshis in terms of their credibility, in terms of the visa restriction has to be curtailed down, and through the negotiation with those foreign government. And also the Middle East is the hub of our economic, particularly the remittances we are receiving from those countries has to be continuously, that remittance are very much needed for Bangladesh economy. So we have to have a good relation with those countries so that they can continuously taking our human labor, and also we have to work on the skilling our labor. That's how I can see the economic diplomacy would be the guiding principle of Bangladesh foreign policy in the near decades. So
that is so important coming from Rashid Alam. I must thank you for your valuable insight and contributions towards international affairs. It is wonderful to have you also in this program. As well as Norman Floyd Barnes, I must thank him for his commentary and contributions towards this very program. Ladies and gentlemen, today is February the 18th. On this day, way back in 1930 at the Lowell Observatory, the 8th planet was discovered. Of course, I'm talking about Pluto. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. A very happy Ramadan Mubarak to all, and I will see you all on tomorrow's program.
Right.